Phyllis, how did you find carnivore?
It's kind of an odd story because I'm 79 years old, but I actually found carnivore and didn't know it when I was 15. When I was just 15 years old, well, we had never learned to cook. We were not allowed in the kitchen, and so we never learned how to cook. I didn't even know how to boil water. Um, yeah, when I was 15 and I left home, and I was a smoker at that time. And I never ever realized that smoking was what was keeping me slim. Everybody else in the family was growing, but I was staying thin. And anyways, when I moved away, like I say, I had no idea of cooking. And one of my friends said, "Oh, you should just get meat because, like get some steak because it's easy, you know." So she showed me how to do this, and I bought steak, and she showed me how to do it, and and it was fantastic. And I ate that way for quite a long time. I don't know how long. I don't think it was, months or anything like that. It was a long time ago. Um, but uh, I loved meat. I loved it. Issues with food actually started when I was really little because there were more kids than there was food, and it was always a thrash. Like you ran to the table, you ate really fast, you ate as much as you could to make sure you got something. And so that was kind of what I knew about eating back then. But I did learn how to cook. So yeah, I spent years trying to figure out um, how cooking a meal worked because that was like totally foreign to me. We when we were little kids, we had to do our own cooking, and we cooked eggs. That's what we cooked because we had chickens, we had tons of eggs, and that's we ate eggs pretty much all the time. At the age of 35, but I did quit smoking. So it was the weight gain started that day, and so did the search for a way to make it stop because, of course, I liked being thin. And I tried every diet that I ever heard anyone mention. Um, 10 pounds down and 20 pounds up, and 20 pounds down and 30 pounds up, year after year, diet after diet. And I believe that I lost and gained thousands of pounds during that time. And I believe also that if I hadn't dieted, I would never have had that problem, but I tried every diet. I became really skeptical of all food experts and all those who thought they were food experts. I had to figure this out on my own. It was confusing. It was all consuming. And eating healthy became really a full time job, with no job description, of course, and no visible results. It was all about count this, measure that, weigh the other thing, calories, the macros, and the list just goes on. And one could never know, no one could ever know if they were doing the right thing or what was the best thing, the best way to eat for good health. Nobody knew that. So I lost faith in healthcare, in government, in doctors, and in anyone who claimed to know anything at all about food. I needed to see proof. Like you couldn't just tell me how great a diet was. I had to see proof of that diet. And I knew that proof was never going to come from any of these people who claimed to be experts, you know, because they were guessing. They were guessing just like everyone else. And hearing people talk about food and its value was annoying and disappointing. Um, None of them knew any more than I did, you know, and basically I knew nothing at that time. I knew absolutely nothing. I needed to have someone to tell me what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat, and what to expect from what I was eating. That was like a really important thing to me, what to expect. So I was highly addicted to sugar and carbs, and I just couldn't find a way past it. I knew there had to be a way, but I just didn't know what that way was. I started being really concerned. I mean, really, when I think about it, I was just gluttonous. And I started to pray about the effects of gluttony on my body. And in that, I was led to a teaching by Gary Casey called The Antidote. And I listened to that and listened to it and listened to it. And I suddenly realized this is God's way of dieting. That's what it sounded like to me. I listened to it many, many times and I knew that God is for me. And um, He's on my side and He doesn't want me to be obese. He gave me a scripture verses in Corinthians 6, 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20. And when that's where He tells me to take care of His temple because I am His temple. We all are His temple. So after reading and meditating on these verses, um, it was clear to me that God wanted to help me with my weight dilemma. And it was a dilemma. Because I would I would think to myself, I don't want to do that anymore. I can't do that anymore. And even as I was thinking it, I was doing it. And it was just so frustrating. It was because I knew that I didn't want to, but it was like I was forced. I couldn't have been more forced if there had been a gun in my back. So anyway, I woke up one morning simply not hungry, which was very unusual, like completely unusual. And it continued all day. So I fasted. I couldn't even imagine fasting for a half an hour prior to that. The next day it continued, and it went on for 15 days. You can't even imagine fasting. Oh, fast? I have no idea what fasting is about, but here I am fasting. I'm happy that it's happening, but totally not understanding it. So on day 15 of this fast, one of my friends came over and she has been doing carnivore for a year and a half. And I've always known, I remember the day she started, and she would give me updates, like we'd meet every once a month or once in 2 months or whatever. And she'd give me updates of what was going on. And it was always all really good. It was always really good stuff. And I was really happy for her. But I mean, go without food, hello, that just can't work. And just meat? No, no, no. I mean, what about my buns? What about my cookies? And that's really all I could think about. Um, but anyways, she came and she told me all the bonuses of eating this way and how now her husband was eating this way. And one of her boys, she has two boys, and one of her boys eats this way once in a while. Like he doesn't, when he comes home, he's in school. When he comes home, he doesn't say, "Oh, mom, make me this." He'll just, "I'll eat whatever you're cooking," and he's okay with that. Sometimes, you just don't know what you don't know. You just have no idea. And I mean, clearly I didn't know anything about carnivore. Yeah, so I mean, I knew that she did eat carnivore, but I just didn't understand it. She told me of all her amazing results for to her health. There was ease of shopping, ease of meal planning, ease of meal prep and cleanup. I mean, everything was easy. And this was so far from what doctors and experts had to say that I just knew. I just knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that this was the ticket. This was absolutely right on. I had tried everything else and none of it worked. So this was just completely different from anything. And whenever God gives me direction, it always sounds completely out to lunch, completely outrageous. And so just knowing that, I knew that eating meat and fat and eggs would be my next step. And so I went away. I spent the next 2 days, because this is after 15 days of fasting. I spent the next 2 days still fasting as I cleaned out my cupboards, my pantry, my fridge, and my freezer. And I just totally dove into carnivore. And that answered the question that I had had for 42 years. How am I supposed to eat and be healthy? Because from 35 to now 79, well, I guess 77 when this whole thing started. Um, but I believe that fasting for 17 days emptied out my system of um, everything that could possibly cause keto flu. So, a lot of people say, like, how do you get started? I just really think that fasting is fantastic. I mean, I've done it, and I mean, I didn't have keto flu and I just slid right into it like I was riding on butter. Yeah, it was pretty easy. Even though, on the one hand, I was sure that I had the answer. Uh, Somewhere deep down inside, I still didn't know. I still thought that I could die from this. Um, but I really didn't care. I was willing to trust God now in this. Um, I could die if I did, but I could and probably would die if I didn't. In my case, it would have been like something like a heart attack, maybe. I broke my fast with bacon, eggs, and burgers on March 13th of 2024. And immediately, that very first day, I noticed that I was not starving straight away after I ate. That was like my very first thing. And that was such a major, huge thing to me because I was always starving right after I ate. I mean, I was thinking about not even the dessert that was coming, but the second helping that I thought I had to have, or whatever, stupid things. Um, but I had no cravings at all, not a single craving. And that may have been due to the fasting, I thought. I was no longer addicted to sugar. I was sure that I was no longer addicted to sugar. 2021, there was a double heart bypass, which slowed me down. Then, within 5 days of that, a massive staph infection. And my stay in the hospital was very, very long and far, far less than perfect. Um, those who were helping me, that I assumed were doing their level best to help me, were feeding me the foods that had brought me here in the first place. It was hard to eat because I had given up all the foods that they were feeding me. I had given them up on this last diet. And so I had to depend on my daughter to bring me food. Knowing all that I know now, knowing everything I know about the carnivore diet and how it has worked for many people, I don't think I would have had that surgery. I really think if I knew what I knew now, I would have just changed my diet instantly. I wouldn't have had that surgery because that surgery has done a lot of negative things, that you think, oh, well, your life was saved. Well, yeah, my life was saved, but what about this and what about that and what about the other thing? There's all these things. And so it would be better to just not have had it at all. So I started eating this carnivore lifestyle on March 13th, 2024. Results were immediate. I no longer suffer from sleep apnea. And I know that because sleep apnea always woke me up with a violent jerk. I stopped snoring after 3 days. I know that. I don't have anyone here to tell me that, but I know that because my throat was not dry and sore when I wake up in the morning. My breathing is better. Pain in my knees is gone, and I noticed that while walking. My eyesight has improved. Like I can see a smaller print now. I can read a smaller print now. And I think that this one book that I was reading it's 10, and um, I can read that easily now, which, well, I'm wearing glasses, but I'm only wearing them because it's dark and I'm reading my pencil written notes. Oh, yeah, but I can read much smaller print, and it's really, really nice. And I have to say that I have not had these glasses on my face for probably 2 months. I just haven't used them at all for that length of time. Um, Psoriasis and eczema, which I've had all of my life, um, are both, well, psoriasis is gone completely, and eczema is pretty much gone. Um, and I've had them both my whole life, like I said. Bleeding gums, the same thing, had them all my life, and that's pretty much stopped too. Sleep is great with great dreams. Many things that I thought of as normal have been resolved. Um, Often, I don't even notice things until I hear someone else mention them. And I think, oh, yeah, I used to have that. I remember when I had that, but it's gone. I don't know when it went. It's just not there anymore. Um, the two very most significant changes that convince me that I'm on the right track are no food cravings, none, and absolute sugar freedom. Absolute, total, complete sugar freedom. It's just, I can't even tell you what that does to me. I can't even say. It's such a spectacular thing. Just knowing, just knowing. So since March 13th, 2024, I have not craved a single thing, not one single thing. And I have never been hungry. I have no idea what it's like to be hungry because I eat because I know I have to. And I was listening to something on intermittent fasting today, and they were saying like don't fast exactly the same, like fast differently, fast today for 12 hours and tomorrow for 20 hours or whatever, and I've been doing that all the time anyway because I never know when I'm going to eat. I just eat when I think about it and there's time and whatever. And yeah, it's odd, but I try to fast differently all the time. And I do fast on Sundays. I fast every Sunday, always have. And at the end of the month, I always fast like the last week, Saturday and Sunday, or Sunday and Monday, 2 days anyway, always 2 days. And because I was a grazer, and that's such a horrible thing to be, you know, but because I was a grazer, I do still have times when I open the fridge, all the cupboards, and the pantry just to see what's there. But I should show you my cupboards. There's nothing in any of them. There's nothing in my fridge. There's nothing in my pantry. It's just like naked. Yeah. So, and in the past, I would have, everywhere I looked, I would have found whatever, and I would have had a taste of this and a taste of that, bite of the other thing, but um, I do still go around, but I know I'm not looking for anything, I'm not looking for anything in particular. It's just a habit, and I wouldn't even dream of having even carnivore snacks around. And I say that having just made beef jerky yesterday. But the beef jerky is for my son, it's not for me. So I just haven't taken it. I'm taking it tomorrow. Um, but I don't have anything around because I know how trustworthy I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not very trustworthy when it comes to food. So,
Congratulations on your results. Just to clarify, what was your weight prior to going carnivore, and what is your weight
oh,
now?
it was 138, I want to say. 138. And now it's this morning was, or not this morning, yesterday morning, it was sorry, it was 238. It was 238. Okay. And now it is 203. I lost 17 of those pounds while I was fasting.
Nice. So, how is your family about this? Do they think you've gone crazy?
And I don't even talk to them about it. I don't even mention it because I know how they feel. And they're just not sick enough. And I have a foster son who only in the last month had his leg amputated just below the knee because of a sole ulcer. And I did talk to him. I said, Alan, I am your mother and you need to listen to me. Have I ever steered you wrong? I said, that doctor doesn't own you. You don't owe that doctor anything. You can say, let me try this. You can say, wait until next week, wait until next year. You can say anything you want. He does not have dibs on you. But no, he went ahead and yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry
they
to
put a
hear that.
prosthetic on straight away and he's able to walk on it. But that's not like having a foot. And what about the phantom pains that he's going to feel? There's just, but, you know, The other two are they younger? Yeah, I guess they're both younger. Both my own kids are younger than him. And my son says, "No, I'm just not really ready to give up everything." But I think that if anybody was to do it, he'd be the first. I think that if he had any kind of a problem, he'd say, "Wow, look what my mom did, and that's what happened." I think that he would, but what do I know? I don't know anything.
You were influenced by your friend who was
Yeah,
doing carnivore. So if someone came to you and said, "Look, you're being you're much healthier now. You seem to have more energy than you used to. I want to try this as well." What advice would you give them?
you know, you either want to do it or you don't. If you want to do it, jump in. That's my best advice because I'm just not a person. Like I said, I need fast forward on my life. Okay, so I can't think about it. I have to know what the results are. You know. So yeah, I just say if you want to do it, if that's your thought, then just jump in. And that's probably not for everybody, but that's me and that's my advice. And only because it worked so well for me. And I would also say if you're going to
Right.
jump in, fast for a few days first, because I think fasting was fantastic for me. That I've never heard anyone say anything about fasting beforehand. I've never heard that, but I mean that's just my story. That's what happened with me.
So, how has your doctor been about this?
Do you know, I had some blood done just recently, and when I went to see him, um, his very first thing was, "Oh, your cholesterol," and I said to him, "You know what? I think there is altogether too much emphasis on cholesterol and for no reason." I said, "Our bodies need cholesterol. Every hormone, every cell, and our brain all need cholesterol. Why would we want to lower it?" So, then I hit him with a really big bang. I told him that I had stopped the statin, and he was freaked out. Yeah. And he says, you have to start looking after yourself. And I just, I've been listening to you, doctor. I've been listening to you. You've known me for more than 20 years. And in those 20 years, you have said, eat less, move more. You've said, eat your veggies. You've said, follow the food guide. Don't forget the grains. No more than one egg a week. Don't eat too much meat, a palm size, just a tiny bit every once in a while, and you've said all these things, and look what we've got. I put my arms right out and I said, look what we have, you know, and he didn't really have a word to say, but he stopped criticizing immediately. Yeah, I didn't say anything about carnivore because I would like to talk to him further about that, and I didn't want to like make him angry.
It's nice to hear you were
Well,
assertive
he
with
is a
him.
really nice man too. I've always really, really liked him. But there's just stuff he doesn't know, and he doesn't know that he doesn't know it. And so I'd really like to talk to him and get him separated from the healthcare system so that he could be a carnivore doctor. But I mean, I don't know if that could ever happen. But
I think the key to all this is that everyone see some rise in their cholesterol, or most people see some rise in their cholesterol, but everything else
Yeah.
improves. So that kind of tells you something,
Yeah.
right? It's like when cholesterol shouldn't really be a risk factor when you're metabolically healthy, or, moving towards metabolic health in every other way, you know?
Yeah. It's true. But, he's a doctor and he has to assert himself too, because people are not listening to doctors the way they used to, is my experience anyway. Um, and he knows too, just from that little talk, that that's not how I used to be. I used to be like, oh, and how many of these would I need? And when do I have to take them? And what's the best way? And what's the best time? And, and how long should I be taking them for? And I'd have a million questions. Now it's no, it's just no when he wants to give me something. And hopefully I'll get off, I'll be seeing him next month. And hopefully I'll get off some of the high blood pressure pills because I'm on two. I don't know if I really do. I need to be on two. Well, do I need to be on two because I need?
Do you know if it's started to come down?
What I have checked my blood pressure for like a whole week at a time, many times, and my blood pressure is not very high. And for the most part, not high at all. But I'm saying that I've done this without medication. Like I just take myself off and do it for a week or whatever, whenever I want to try that. Um, and I've had like a whole week at a time that my blood pressure, it's maybe not been 120 over 80, but it hasn't been 180. It's maybe been 125 or 128 or something like. I don't think that's high. That's not high. And doesn't Dr. Barry say 140, or Dr. Chafee, one of them?
Yeah, that's right. I think it's 140, yeah. Mm.
So, and not even necessarily over 80, but I've even gone to my doctor with those results, and I remember him looking at the results and said, "That is fantastic." But no, can't come off the meds. But I wasn't as assertive in those days.
Phyllis, if people want to reach out to you, how can they get in contact? Do you have any social media or any way of reaching out to you?
I am on Facebook, and I think I am on Instagram. Not that I post anything on Instagram. I'm just there because my daughter put me there. Um, and uh, and I have my email. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk. I'm not bothered. Yeah,
No worries. I'll link to your email in the show notes. Phyllis, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience. I really
well, it
appreciate your
was
time.
entirely my pleasure. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for all you do.